Hello friends, welcome to CNS Viewpoint. Today we are going to talk about another important issue which made us think, and actually many people have asked me at times that why do I carry a whole kit to repair my cycle puncture myself. So and it's a long story, so I thought, okay, let me take this in CNS Viewpoint, because it is not about personal experience, friends, only about personal experience, but it is also about there is some story in it. And the story is I'd never fancied that I will be learning how to repair a cycle puncture. There was no need till very recently. Although I've been cycling since some years, since 2014 in Lucknow and in Chiang Mai. Went back to cycling into Chiang Mai in northern Thailand, and then continued in Boston and in Lucknow in June 2014. And before that, I have cycled till 1998. But there was never really a need for me to even think of why don't I learn how to repair a cycle puncture. And the need arose because the route in Lucknow, especially in the last few years, is such that there's hardly any cycling repair shop. There's no cycle repair shop on that route for most of the distance. And the time I return is often late evenings, and by that time most of the shops are closed in the old city area. And if I'm stuck on the outer ring roads or expressway, then it is a very major problem because even if you drag your cycle towards the city area, which might be half an hour or an hour, half an hour easily if you drag it on foot, the cycle repair shops would have been closed by then, like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. or something like that. So then the biggest problem was during the lockdown in 2020 and 2021, that government of India had clamped this lockdown, where the arrangements were made so that motor cars and motor vehicles can continue to ply on the road, but cycles cannot ply on the road because there is no cycling repair shop which was allowed to keep functioning. And why I'm saying so is because cycle repair shop is a place where you and I go to, people who cycle or use cycle rickshaw or cart for vegetables and other things. They fill their air tire pressure. They go for repairs like cycle, puncture, like valve problem. These two are more frequent. The other major ones could be like the chain problem or other even worse issue, like for instance the tire, the cycle tire getting off track or something like that. So I had a major issue in lockdown last year, and that was my cycle tire not tube, tire had a burst. It was an old tire. I was being warned by the cycle repair guy, but every time it was like, okay, let it be, maybe next time we can get it done. And one thing led to another, and then the lockdown got happened, clamped, and I was stuck. So after a few hours of dragging the cycle, I could manage to find a cycle shop which was open during lockdown, and that too in a very what should I say, in a very hesitatingly he was open, which basically means that because of the police and municipality and other authorities who regulate the lockdown, the cycle repair guy must have managed or was trying to avoid police action. So anyways, the main point is he was open in the nearby nearby small lane. But the problem was he had no cycle tire. He can repair the old tire, he can try to, but do a patchwork, and that is exactly what he did for me. But he had no spare tire or tube left, as it was a small enterprise. So, and that made me think, like, this is really very interesting, because luckily and fortunately, I can afford to have a cycle repair kit, puncture repair kit. I can afford to have a cycle pump in my backpack, along with my computer and charger and other things. But this is really ironical, because we should not be in a position that we all have to carry these things. It is something like, during the lockdown and Corona wave 2 in India, many people I know who had resources bought their own oxygen concentrators and or oxygen cylinders, and some people had created ICU type facilities in the residential complexes. In advance, which means that in case if any of the near and dear ones may need those services, they will have the facilities of oxygen concentrator, oxygen cylinder, and ICU type facilities in their home, and they don't have to rely on government or private healthcare services, which were really under enormous strain and very difficult to get a hospital admission in time. It was a very awful situation, and let's hope that such a situation may never arise again. But having said that, before that, why would have so Corona wave made people realize that those who had resources made their own arrangements. But before Corona wave, I don't remember anyone who ever thought of getting an oxygen concentrator or oxygen cylinders and keeping in their homes when private hospitals and government hospitals are available if the need so arises. So likewise, like if we have the facilities, if there are enough cycle repair shops all across the city. So for instance, hypothetically, if I'm living in an old city area and my commute is mostly the daytime, then and there is no lockdown, etc., and things are functioning normally, then probably there is not much of a problem, because in the old city area, after every some reasonable distance, you will have a cycle repair shop or some arrangement to get your cycle fixed. But in the so-called modern part of the town, and this is Lucknow in India, in the modern part of the town, the distances are not reasonable. It's quite a lot of distance between two cycle repair shops. Number one. Number two, they may not be open. And on some roads, for instance, big roads, main roads, highways, expressways, or even the main arterial roads, you barely have any cycle repair shop on those roads. And those are the roads are frequent, because those are the best of roads to come back home, so-called home. So, and I ended up, of course, having my own cycle repair kit, and there have been at least half a dozen instances since then when I was lucky enough to have that kit with me, and got trained, coached by a cycle repair person. Thanks to that person, and because of his training, I could repair my cycle repair puncture and keep moving. Otherwise, I would have been surely stuck and made a huge. It would have become a huge problem, because those were the outer roads where there were no cycle repair shop for at least half an hour or 45 minutes or an hour, or for instance during lockdown, the Talabandi, because during the lockdown most of the cycle repair shops were closed. Having said that, please do note that facilities to get your car repaired, motorcycle repaired, your cycle car tire puncture, motorcycle tire puncture repaired, etc. was all open because it's all connected to the petrol pump. So even you can buy a whole new car or whole new motorcycle. Even during the Talabandi or lockdown, there were news reports that car sales happened despite officially things were closed. So can you imagine that? And they found out because the new car registration data, if you find out, then you will find that car registrations were happening even if officially the car showrooms were closed. So coming back to the main point, what we need is, there is no other alternative. We need a very strong public transport system which is so convenient, so comfortable that no one should feel the need of owning a private vehicle. It is just like, why should people feel the need of owning an oxygen concentrator or oxygen cylinder when there are good public services available? Similarly, what we need is, we need to discourage people from buying new vehicles. We need to discourage people from, in forms of higher taxes, etc., and encourage people to keep their old vehicles. Make sure our regulatory system is helping ensure that all the vehicles are fit, are healthy, and safe for the user, for other people who use the road, and our environment, etc. But we should not force people to dispose of their old vehicles, and rather encourage that people retain their old vehicles and actually refrain from buying new motor vehicles. And people are buying motor vehicles because of failure of the government to ensure public transport system. So also let us remember that and not forget about it. So with these words, I would also like to finally say that if we want people to cycle, walk, use public transport, we also have to make arrangements. When we make roads modern places are those where we have facilities enough for cycling if something goes wrong. So with these words, I will end today's CNS Viewpoint, and tomorrow again we will be back again 5 p.m. with the thoughts and views and perspectives of something that we are seeing. So bye till then. Bye bye.